He advocates for people whose poverty makes them targets for abuse. He sees community pain daily. But Brian and his wife Melissa had a front-row seat to a new tragedy a few years ago. In a moment of personal crisis, they learned the value of lament. Actually, they learned how to lead in lament. Brian and Melissa lived in a quiet neighborhood on the west side of Indianapolis, a middle-class community of young families, playgroups for kids, and caring neighbors. The kind of neighborhood filled with children laughing on play sets, bikes everywhere, and backyard barbecues. But on November 10, 2015, their peaceful neighborhood was shattered by a home invasion and a brutal murder. One morning, 3 armed men targeted a neighbor's home. It belonged to a young couple who moved to Indianapolis with a dream of planting a church. After the husband left for the gym, the men entered the home. Amanda, a pregnant 28-year-old mother, was murdered while their toddler slept in his crib. The senseless slaying shook the city and drew the attention of national media. The police interviewed neighbors, reviewed security footage, and searched the city for the 3 men. Meanwhile, Brian and Melissa, along with another couple from our church, walked their neighbors through the grief that invaded their neighborhood. They opened their home for lament. The first night, over 50 neighbors crowded their living room to read the Bible, pray, and weep together. Many were believers, others were not, but all of them were in pain. The tragedy brought them together. Brian became their guide. Every weekday evening for 3 weeks, Brian and Melissa's home became a place of lament. As they waited for the suspects to be caught and as their neighbors tried to recover, they used Psalm 13 as their base text. They cried out together, "How long, O Lord?" allowing it to direct them toward trust and worship. Over the weeks, the size of the group varied, but Brian's home became a sanctuary for sorrow. As the believers in Brian's neighborhood entered the pain and fearful questions of their neighbors, the believers were able to give their neighbors a path toward hope. Lament opened the door for many important spiritual conversations. Lamentations chapter 5, a roadmap to God's grace. The final chapter of Lamentations ends without resolving the destruction of Jerusalem, but it points readers in the right direction. Suffering lingers. The temple still lies in ruin. There is more to come, but the answer has not arrived. Yet the book ends with a hopeful prayer. Restore us to yourself, O Lord, that we may be restored. Renew our days as of old, unless you have utterly rejected us, and you remain exceedingly angry with us. Lamentations chapter 5, verses 21 and 22. The final chapter of Lamentations is unique. While it continues to highlight themes regarding the devastation of Jerusalem, it doesn't follow the poetic pattern of the other chapters. The verses are much shorter, almost staccato-like in their wording, a rapid-fire summary of grief. And while you could find every element of lament in this chapter, turning, complaining, asking, trusting, there is a particular focus on requests made directly to God. Chapter 5 looks to God for hope. You may have picked up this book hoping that lament would untie all the knots of pain in your life. But answers to prayer and resolution of painful questions do not usually come quickly. Sometimes the answer is not what we'd want or request. The timing may be much slower than we'd hoped. Lament is the prayer language for these gaps. It tells you where to look and whom to trust when pain and uncertainty hang in the air you breathe. When brokenness becomes your life, lament helps you turn to God. It lifts your head and turns your tear-filled eyes toward the only hope you have, God's grace. I hope you are encouraged by this. Do you remember where we started our journey in learning to lament? In chapter 1, I encouraged you to keep turning to God in prayer. I cautioned you about deafening silence, prayerlessness. The first step in lament pushes against this by calling us to keep praying. And as Jeremiah's lament ends, we hear the same invitation. We must keep praying. We must keep lamenting, and we must help others to do the same. Lamentations concludes with 3 prayers that serve as directional markers for the journey ahead. These prayers serve